Hi, listeners. Stories have so much power, and so does whoever controls the narrative. It is time that we dissect and analyze these stories. I am Vipul, and this is Folk Tales. Hi, everyone. Gretel in Darkness is a 1975 poem by Louise Glück. The poem is a dramatic monologue spoken by Gretel, the little girl from the fairy tale of Hansel and Gretel. In the poem, Gretel reflects on how she is haunted psychologically by the memory of the witch she killed, in order to save herself and her brother Hansel. Before I tell you about Gretel in Darkness, the background is the story of Hansel and Gretel. They are siblings who are abandoned in a forest and fall into the hands of a witch who lives in a gingerbread, cake, and candy house. The witch, who has cannibalistic intentions, intends to fatten Hansel before eventually eating him. However, Gretel saves her brother by pushing the witch into her own oven, killing her, and escaping with the witch's treasure. So on that note, it's story time. The poem begins with Gretel remarking that she and her brother have got the world they wanted. The witch who tried to kill them has been vanquished and killed. She can still hear the dying cry of the witch, reminding her that God helps those who help themselves. She imagines the witch's tongue shriveling into gas, an allusion to the way the witch dies in the Hansel and Gretel story, by being shoved in the oven and cooked. The second stanza reflects on the siblings' present situation. They sleep in their father's hut and have plenty of food to eat. Gretel wonders why she cannot forget the events involving the witch. After all, it was years ago, and their father bars the door to the house, ensuring nobody can break in and harm them now. In the poem's third stanza, Gretel turns to her brother and remarks that he has managed to forget what happened to them. To him, it's as though their brush with death never happened. Yet, she reminds him she killed someone to save him. She can see the sturdy and forbidding fir trees around the witch's house and the tall spires of the oven inside her house, which she planned to use to cook the two siblings. In the final stanza, Gretel turns to consider her own feelings. At night, she tells Hansel she turns to him, wanting him to embrace her to reassure and soothe her. But he's not there. She asks if she is alone. She can hear spies whispering in the stillness of the forest outside, and she is back there in their moment of danger, reliving it in the depths of the dark forest and the fire in which the witch earnestly meant to cook them. The end. The poem is a dramatic monologue which uses a female figure from a well-known fairy tale as a character to explore trauma. The title of the poem, Gretel in Darkness, can be read on both a literal and metamorphical level. The final stanza of the poem sees Gretel describing how alone she feels at night, in the darkness. This darkness is itself double, since she is mentally back in the Black Forest, another phrase fizzing with double meaning, since it also describes the literal Black Forest that was the probable setting for the original Germanic folk tale. In the darkness of the woods, reliving the traumatic experience she and her brother underwent. Gretel in Darkness also possesses figurative and symbolic meaning. Gretel is all alone in the mental and emotional darkness and loneliness that her trauma has created. Although she and her brother both went through the same experience, Hansel appears to have moved on and isn't haunted by their past. By contrast, Gretel is in a kind of a spiritual purgatory, doomed to relive the traumatic encounter with the witch over and over again. She is suffering from trauma, mentally unable to escape from the memories of what happened to her and her brother. This obviously problematizes our relationship with fairy tales, which end happily with all of the dangers suppressed and order restored. But although the outward order has been restored, Gretel's inner world is still in disarray. And on that note, bye for now. Let me know your thoughts on the story and our discussion by emailing me on woketalespodcast@gmail.com or through social media at woketalespodcast on Instagram and woketalespod on Twitter. And please rate, review, and like Woke Tales Podcast, and don't forget to subscribe so you can easily access our weekly stories. If you have any story recommendations, or if you want to come dissect and analyze a story with me, give me a shout out on email or social media, because whatever you do, keep dissecting and keep analyzing.